Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my NFL coaches on the hot seat for the 2021 NFL season. Before I team, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe. Really appreciate if you do that. Really try and grow the channel. College football predictions are going to be right around the corner, so stay tuned for that. We also have a college football coaches on the hot seat video that came out with that 2-3 weeks ago, so go check that out on my channel. But today I'm going to be talking about NFL coaches on the hot seat. These are coaches that I believe need to either start winning, their seats getting warm, or they're on the hot seat for other reasons. So let's get into it. I have 9 coaches in the NFL that I think should be on some sort of hot seat. I'm going to go through each one here because in college football there's like 25 or 30 usually. In the NFL is a lot less, so I could explain myself a bit more in these videos with NFL coaches on the hot seat. So let's get into it. Let's kick it off with the AFC coaches on the hot seat. I believe there are 4 AFC coaches on the hot seat. We'll kick off with John Harbaugh. You might be surprised to see him on here, but the reason why he is on here is because I think the Ravens are in a position right now that is AFC Championship berth or bust, basically. If they do not make the AFC Championship, they are underachieving, in my opinion. And John Harbaugh, I think, knows that. To me, they have probably I think they have the 5th best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. And Lamar Jackson, definitely top 5, the most dynamic quarterback in the league. Um, I mean, and I think they have a good enough team around him. I know people criticize wide receivers. They don't really need so much as a number 1 wide receiver as because they just run the ball a lot. I mean, as long as they have a good running game, they're going to be in every game. So, John Harbaugh, in my opinion, that seat deserves to be at least a bit warm because of the expectations. And in my opinion, if he gets to a divisional round, I do think that he'll stay around. But it would not surprise me at all if they make a wild card and he is out. And if they lose in the wild card, he is out of the he is out of a job basically. Especially if they expand the playoffs. If he doesn't make the playoffs, he should be out of a job. So I think his seat deserves to be a little bit warm. But I expect John Harbaugh to at least have the Ravens ready to at least get to a divisional round. Other coach in the AFC North is Zack Taylor. He is 6-25-1 in 2 seasons in Cincinnati. He just needs to win 7 games, in my opinion. I think if he goes 7-10 of 17 games this year in the NFL, they added a game to the regular season. In my opinion, if he just goes 7-10, even maybe a 6-11, he just needs to prove that he's hanging the right track. The main problem with Zack Taylor, he got a little bit screwed over last year by Joe Burrow's injury because with Joe Burrow in there, they were in a lot of ball games. So it wasn't like they were bad with Joe Burrow. If he can stay healthy, Joe Burrow, which I think he will, I don't think Zack Taylor will get fired. But he needs to start winning a little more there. Zack Taylor is year 3, needs to start winning. In the AFC South, David Cauley, and I don't like paying coaches here that haven't even head coach a game, but I have to put David Cauley on here for the sheer fact that the Houston Texans are going to be the worst team in the NFL. I just look at the over under at them. They're at 4 over under. I would take the under on that. So I don't even think that I think they're going to struggle getting to 3-14. Honestly, if you really want my real opinion about the Houston Texans. And if you all don't remember, a few years back, Steve Wilkes was the guy's name in Arizona. He took over after Bruce Arians retired. Even though Bruce Arians is back into coaching, but he took over Bruce Arians' team and he just went 3-13 and it went south quickly. And he was just gone after a year because I think all the parties knew it just didn't work out. I could see it happening here with David Cauley. I think personally, I think he's a little bit in over his head. Personally, if you watch his press conferences, and I could see if they come out 1-16, maybe even 0-17, which I do think is possible. I can see him going after one season. He needs to at least get to 3-4 wins, in my opinion. David Cauley, to sit there and keep his job going to his second year. And then Vic Fangio, the Broncos head coach out there in the AFC West. The main issue with him is that he just needs to start winning. I kind of think the Broncos are somewhat still in no man's land. I do think they have a shot at the playoffs. If he could go above 500, I think he keeps his job even if they miss the playoffs. But if he turns out another 7-win season, they go 7-10, I think he will be out of a job. So those are the four coaches on the AFC that I think should have at least some sort of hot seat. And I would say Fangio and Zack Taylor should definitely be on the hot seat. David Cauley, I explained myself. I think things go very south. I can see him out of a job after 1 year. Sort of like Steve Wilkes a few years ago with the Cardinals. And John Harbaugh, it's just expectations. Now to the NFC, I think there's 5 coaches in the NFC that should be on the hot seat or some sort of hot seat. Let's kick off with Mike McCarthy going into year 2 at Dallas. Last year was a massive disappointment. He needs to, in my opinion, Mike McCarthy either needs to win the division because let's be real, it's the NFC East. 8-9 might win the division. I mean, personally, I don't see that happening. I think it might take 10 wins to win this division, but because I think this division is actually getting better. But it could very well be 8-9 wins the division, or he needs to be at least above 500 and like at least 9-8. I would even say at least 10-7. I mean, the Cowboys, I'm not sold on their defense. I do think offensively they are one of the best teams in the NFL. Mike McCarthy needs to start winning some games. I know Dak Prescott was injured last year, but that's not a big enough excuse for me last year for them going 6-10. That defense was horrifically bad. Matt Nagy in Chicago, he was on this list last year. Matt Nagy, he saved his job by making the postseason. He backed himself into the postseason. This year, he drafted Justin Fields. The GM's also on the hot seat as well. Nagy's on the hot seat as well. Matt Nagy, in my opinion, he needs to make the postseason again. And I don't think he needs to necessarily win a playoff game per se, but he cannot just back himself into the postseason. He needs to actually probably go 11-6, 10-7. I personally don't know 10-7 is even going to be good enough in the NFC to make the playoffs, and he needs to go ahead and make the playoffs and be very competitive with whoever he faces in the NFC wild card or NFC divisional, depending on if they get a top 2 seed or the top seed rather, since there's 7 teams in the playoffs. But he already came out and said Andy Dalton's the starter week 1. I would not do that if I was Matt Nagy. I would just start Justin Fields week 1. I mean, first of all, in my opinion, if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you're signaling to everybody that you believe it's time for a change at quarterback. So, in my opinion, in most scenarios, you better be starting that quarterback week 1. They are a first round pick. They need to be in there. The only exception I will think of is probably the Packers exception, which I actually thought about paying Matt LaFleur on this hot seat list, but I just couldn't bring myself to it. But Matt Nagy has to be on the hot seat, and we'll see what happens. I do think Justin Fields will pan out, but I mean, if Matt Nagy cannot afford to just go 9-8, let's just say that he needs to at least go 10-7, in my opinion. Mike Zimmer, I am surprised I am putting this name on the list. And the reason why I'm putting Mike Zimmer on the list is not so much he's on the hot seat. It's basically I think the Vikings window has closed. And I kind of alluded to this in some earlier videos when I went over the over-under win totals for the Vegas betting odds for the NFL teams. I think the Vikings are either going 9-8 or 8-9. If they go 9-8, I think Zimmer keeps his job. If they go 8-9, I think Zimmer's in trouble. I don't think he gets fired this year, but I could definitely see if things go south. Let's say they only go 6-11, 7-10. I could definitely see him being on the hot seat going into 2022. Kirk Cousins has not panned out the way they wanted him to. And basically, I think this team's window has closed. And I just think they're in no man's land. I think they're kind of the Denver Broncos of the NFC, honestly, at this point. Kind of in no man's land. Not bad, not good, just pretty much middle of the road. Pete Carroll. Now, one of my bold predictions this year for the NFL season is that I think this is Pete Carroll's last year in Seattle because I do think he will be fired after this year. Seattle, I mean, the whole Russell Wilson situation, that does not look good on Pete Carroll. Personally, I think this team is going to be taking a step back defensively. I also think that they haven't really addressed the O-line that much with Seattle out there. So, and Pete Carroll has been outside of last season. I mean, last season they did make the divisional round, but it's really been quite a disappointment for the Seattle Seahawks since the whole Super Bowl thing down in Arizona when they decided to not hand off to Marshawn Lynch. That to me, that's the most one of the most unforgivable play calls in NFL history. But I think Pete Carroll was going after this year. I really do. Um, I do think I think not a lot of people going to put him on a hot seat, but I do think he is very well in the hot seat with the reports coming out of Seattle, mixed reports. And I think he's gone because I think Seattle's going to crumble in a very tough NFC West with a Cardinals team that the more I look at them, the more I like them. A Niners team we're going to talk about here in a minute and a Rams team that just brought in Matthew Stafford. That's an upgrade at quarterback. So I think they're going to crumble. I mean, and listen, last place in the NFC West might be 8-9, but I mean, even then, I mean, I think this is Pete Carroll's last year. Um, I think he's gone after this year, whether he decides to resign or they fire him. And then Kyle Shanahan, ladies and gentlemen, would you believe outside of the Super Bowl year in San Francisco that Kyle Shanahan has been there for 5 years? Would you believe the other 4 seasons have been losing seasons? Kyle Shanahan, the guy has to win. It actually has been 4 seasons. I miscalculated it, but the 3 out of the 4 seasons he's been there, he has actually been losing seasons. He has actually had losing seasons. Now, Grant, I do think the Niners bounce back this year. I do think they get to at least probably 10 wins, 10, 11 wins. I have to look at the schedule, give you the exact win total, but I don't think he'll get fired. But 3 out of 4 seasons outside that Super Bowl year, and when I mean Super Bowl year, the NFC they lost the Super Bowl when they made the Super Bowl. Um, it's been losing seasons, so I have to put him on the hot seat. I would not be doing my job if I did not pick Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat here. So basically, those are the 9 coaches that I see on the hot seat. Comment down below. Tell me what you think about NFL coaches on the hot seat. Where are your coaches on the hot seat going into this NFL season? I always like hearing different opinions, but I think these 9 should be on some type of hot seat when going over the league. Thanks for watching. McD the Beast signing off.